Are you prepping out of fear? Is fear paralyzing you or causing you to make bad decisions? We need to chat. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. Recently, we received an email from one of our viewers who is an adopted daughter of ours. This is very interesting. She writes, I swear that if the day of anger jihad doesn't get me, the fear will. Pretty scared now and spent way too much money this week on stuff that will take me forever to learn how to use. This sweet woman is trying to prepare for a world of crazy events.
Yeah, and absolutely, we live in a crazy world. You don't have to look very far in the news to see things that are just not right.
But fear can be immobilizing. So I know we're all pretty confused now because you always hear, preppers usually try to motivate people with fear. You know, prep because you're afraid. And we're gonna show you today why fear should never be a motivator for preparedness. So let's define fear first. The dictionary says that fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. When you look at the news, there's a lot of stuff that you could be afraid of, but fear is a dangerous motivator.
The number one reason why you shouldn't be motivated by fear is because fear is physical.
Think about it. So if you're watching a horror movie, if you like roller coasters or something like that, you know that that response is physical. And what it does is causes your amygdala in your brain to make physical responses, releases adrenaline, it causes your heart to race faster and the blood actually to move away from your heart into your limbs. And those high levels of cortisol that it creates in your body is good for the short term, but bad for the long term. Living in a state of fear can actually make you sick.
And I know people who just don't watch the news anymore because they don't want to feel that, but that's kind of like sticking your head in the sand. So there's a need to be aware, but also a need to not let fear take over.
And okay, and for me, I need to watch just enough that I understand what's going on, but watching it a lot seriously puts me in a state of anxiety and fear, and it's not good for me. So be careful, find your balance.
The second reason why we shouldn't let fear drive our actions is that it makes you foggy. It makes you not think clearly.
When you're afraid, the area of your brain, the cerebral cortex, is activated, which is the part that's responsible for judgment and rational decision making. And that's one of the reasons why if you go into a haunted house and you're scared by something, all of a sudden you might scream because you're not thinking rationally. As we prepare, we need to think rationally.
The key here is that as one part of your brain revs up, the others kind of get pressed down, and a lot of that's your logical thinking, your ability to make good decisions. The third reason why we shouldn't let fear drive us is because it can actually become addictive and it can become pleasurable to our detriment.
So have you ever noticed that even after that roller coaster ride is over or the horror movie is over, you've still got this high because you've got this release of dopamine in your brain, and that sensation can be very addictive and pleasurable. So sometimes what we find is those who are prepping out of fear, they get this prepping high and it's always so exciting, and then they just continue to prep because they want to maintain that high level of dopamine and that excitement, and yet it's getting in the way of making rational, well thought through preparations that are going to take care of you and that are necessary.
The fourth reason we don't want to have fear drive us is it can result in impulse purchasing.
At the beginning of this video, chances are you probably saw an ad for buying food storage saying that if you buy this certain food supply that you and your family are going to be safe and you're going to eat just fine no matter what happens. And in reality, that food storage plan is full of high sugar, low nutrition food. They're trying to elicit that fear in you to purchase a product that is substandard. When if you're thinking rationally, you're probably not going to buy those types of food storage plans, but you're going to stock your prepper pantry and you're going to look for foods that have a higher nutritional content. Be careful, don't make impulse purchases because you're afraid.
And generally, those kinds of purchases are very, very expensive. The fifth reason why we shouldn't let fear drive us is because it creates a scarcity focus. As a case in point, let's think back to COVID and toilet paper.
Marketers use this all the time. Have you ever gone online to buy something and it says only 5 left or only 3 left? What they're trying to do is give you like this fear of missing out. If you don't buy it right now, it's not going to be there when you come back. That is not a good reason to make a purchase. And it might not even be the reality. Make your decisions on, do I really need this? Is this the best way to spend my money? And do not go into debt to buy anything.
The sixth reason why we shouldn't let fear drive us is because it turns our focus inward.
It means that it's all about me. I'm afraid that my needs aren't going to be met, so I forget that others have needs. Now, that's one of the huge things that we are advocates of, and that is community, looking out for others. But if I'm in that mindset where I'm afraid and it's all about me, I can't sacrifice to bless the life of somebody else. So we want to make sure that we are taking care of our family and our friends and our neighbors and doing everything that we can to work together, because that will be the best outcome for all of us.
Seventh reason why we don't want to turn to fear is because it turns us into little immature children who can't distinguish between wants and needs.
When you were little, you couldn't tell the difference between wants and needs. It was a, I want what I want when I want it kind of an attitude. As we mature, hopefully we have grown out of that. But fear can set us back into that childlike mentality. What it's important is that we take a reasonable assessment of what our needs are. We need to be able to stay warm or cool. We need to be able to have food. We need water. Basic needs might be medical equipment or medications for you. Think about what things you absolutely have to survive. That's what we need to work on. All the rest of it is comfort and fun. In fact, last night we went to a meeting because Kenny is going to go to Mexico on a humanitarian service project with Builders Without Borders. These people are living every day in just this little tiny cubicle thing, this one place where they're going to add a little kitchen onto this little tiny building that Kenny's going to work on. The roof, they do have a little piece of metal on the roof, but the metal is held on with cinder blocks. They do not have running water or sanitation or anything like that, and they've been able to survive. What Kenny is going to do when she goes down there is she is going to help improve that circumstance. Once you have your basic needs met, everything that you're going to do is going to improve your lifestyle. But first, let's only focus on the things that you need to stay alive.
Number 8, fear makes us crave comfort foods. Are you in fear, my dear? Does chocolate drive you?
There is a lot to be said about that. When I am emotional, right, and fear is definitely an intense emotion, I try to find comfort in chocolate, in food. Now, chocolate is my comfort food, but someone who I know and love, peanut butter sandwiches are his comfort food. Always eating those comfort foods instead of foods that are nutritious and healthy, that's where that comes into play. But I'm still a huge advocate of making sure that I have whatever I need emotionally to handle really tough situations.
So let's sum this up. First of all, fear is a powerful but important emotion, and it's something that we should not ignore, but we have to be able to control it.
In order to control our fear, we really need to take time and ask, what is it that I'm afraid of? And that's going to activate the higher reasoning part of our brain so that we can make better decisions. That will decrease our fear, our worry, our anxiety. We want to move forward with faith. We're going to look and we're going to decide what things are in our control and take steps to mitigate whatever those things are. And the things that are out of our control, we're going to turn over to God and just let Him handle it and not worry about it. So we're going to start by first evaluating our risks. And Jonathan does this in a very unique way.
I absolutely do. Being the engineer that I am, I use a spreadsheet. I like a spreadsheet because I can put columns in there and I can identify, okay, this is what I'm really feeling and this is what's happening. Now, what can I do to effectively deal with it?
And me, one of the things that I like to do is I put things all over my house that remind me to have faith. Like this says, let faith be bigger than your fear. Another thing that I love to do is to go out in nature. I think when I'm all uptight and worried, if I go out and work in my garden or take a nice walk and breathe in that fresh air, it makes all the difference in me being able to manage that.
And play is important. Sometimes we don't play enough.
We work
speaking
too
of
much.
us, sometimes there's a lot to do. A little bit of play mixed in there. Whatever it is, take some time to play.
Even though you're really busy, one of the things that we've decided we are doing is we're taking a lot of Friday nights and just building relationships with people that we love and that we'd like to get to know. I find that afterwards, like, I'll be really frustrated before we leave, like, oh, I can't believe I scheduled this. I'm so tired. I'd rather just relax. And then we get there and we have so much fun. Whatever kind of activities like that are good for you, if that means that you're holding a cat or your little puppy and that's what calms you down, that's great.
Our little visits with our friends on Friday nights are actually building our community while we're having fun and playing. Another thing that I like to do is to exercise. That really helps just clear the stuff out, you know, if I'm a little bit stressed.
Good quality music can do so much, whether you need peaceful, relaxing music or something that's gonna make you forget everything and be happy. Music can change a lot.
As can a hobby. Take your hobbies to the next level. Spend some time on them. Of course, anything can be taken out of balance, but make sure that you take time for your hobbies.
And breathe. Just take time to breathe in and out. Meditation and prayer and building your relationship with God and being able to turn things over to God. All of those things are great ways to be able to help to decrease your fear and your anxiety and put something positive and healthy in place of that. And you could name so many more. But to be clear, we are not saying stop prepping. That is not what we're saying, because we have some significant challenges in our future, as you can see by all the things that are causing us to have fear. What we are saying is do not allow fear to be your motivator. Yes, we need to be prepared. We need to be self-reliant, one step at a time, get our basic needs met. There is so much to look forward to. There is so much good in the world, and there's so many things that I look forward to being a very, very old lady, not just an old lady like I am, and having a wonderful life. And we're gonna look forward to that.
Now for the question of the day, what are you going to do this week to make sure that you are prepping out of faith and not fear? Share with us. And thanks for being part of the solution.